Western Spring Television. Ours it is.
Well, a very beautiful Thursday it is to you this morning. Welcome to the show Morning Spring on Western Spring Television. Today is Thursday, the 12th of January, 2023, and we're glad to have you on another episode of the show where we bring it to you as it is. We tell you what is happening in the social, political, and socio-economic world and bring these things, these issues to you to make light, to make sense, and to make perspective of them. We like having you here on the show, and like we've always prayed for you, that you have the spring here in your steps every morning and every day, and that you also stay on the safe side of the law. My name is Emmanuel Ujadikele, and welcoming you to the show this morning. You already know what we do for you on the show. We bring you newspaper reviews and newspaper analysis where we talk about some of the stories making the headlines, some of the stories that are trending on the faces of the national dailies. And we bring you the interview segment where we speak to our guests, some of our analysts, some of our experts who try to give perspective. We've had some of them come here and educate us and, and the people generally on some issues. We've also had some sort of enlightenment by some of our guests that we've had. So that's what we do for you here. And of course, the last segment with me is Spring Trends, where we tell you who is trending, what is trending, why they are trending, and what people are saying about the who, the what, and the why. So beautiful to have you here with us this morning. A quick reminder that the general elections will be taking place on the 25th of February 2023. And currently, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, is giving out PVCs, permanent voters cards. Make sure that you go collect your PVCs and join the number of those who are waiting to exercise their franchise by voting in your preferred candidate, so that for the next 4 years, you do not go around, murmuring and complaining that you could have had someone else there. Of course, you can follow us on all our social media handles. We're reaching you live from Star Times, channel 190, DTT, and you can follow our programs and all the discussions and conversations on Facebook, on Instagram at Western Spring Television, on Twitter at WSTV_NG, and on YouTube. Our channel is Western Spring Television. Do well to find us there and subscribe to our channel. We'll be bringing you the papers shortly, but then, like we've been reminding you, it's the cold season. It's the Harmattan period where you need to stay safe. You need to cover yourself. You need to make sure that you are not exposed unnecessarily to the cold. And if you have kids, now is the time to wrap them up properly like Christmas gifts. Don't wrap them like Christmas gifts, all the head. Just wrap them up properly in thick clothing. Make sure you pack warm food for them and ensure that you just take care of them and yourself generally. My name is Emmanuel Ujadikele. Once again, after this break, I'll be bringing you the papers to stay with us.
Arrested, affected, sound, found. What do we see? What do we say? Flowing from a spring. A fact A to Z. Check and confirm. Eva is pounding current events. Traveling down from the business gist to the globally arising happenings, to the sports news, to the bittersweet infos. Guided transmission, even diffusion, vast and fast, detailed facts are fled. Within seconds, nuggets of words that flew across borders are fired. Stories short and long, wrapped in bundles of words, broken and dissected as it is, except misheard. This is the news as it is.
Turn it up! It's the Wild Wild West, and Western Spring Television is pulling out all the stops to make sure that you don't miss out on every of the fun and happenings around you. Yup, we've got you covered because your girls got all the juiciest tidbits and entertainment news from around the world. Cross over to the chocolatey side of entertainment. Join me, Chocolate Cassie, on Eccentric as we take you into every bit of the juiciest news, fashion, music, movie updates, and other trending conversations. Together on the show, we'll get personal with your favorite celebrities via phone call, Zoom, or even live here in the studio. Eccentric will be shown on your TV screen on Western Spring Television, channel 190, only on StarTimes.
Welcome back to the program. It's still Morning Spring on Western Spring Television, where we bring you what is happening as it is, from where it drops, when it drops. It's the newspaper review segment, and of course, earlier in the show, I told you what we'll be doing for you on the program this morning. Temitope is in the studio too.
Good morning. I'm Temitope Oluola. Thanks for joining us. And it's an especially cold morning today.
Yes, it is, and that explains a couple of things. But I'm not cold. I'm not always cold. That's a lie. I'm very cold.
Very cold.
As I am sure every other person is. It was a struggle to get up the bed this morning.
It was indeed.
I had to do a lot of convictions. I tell myself, you need to get up. You need to get up before eventually getting up. But then let's go straight to the newspapers this morning. I will begin with the Punch newspaper. The banner headline on the Punch newspaper this morning is about next month's elections. Yeah. INEC final list. Northwest, Southwest top 93 million voter register. Lagos has 7 million plus voters. Kano has 5.9 million voters. Kaduna has 4.3 million voters. INEC rules out postponement, says no going back on poll timetable. Very interesting one there. Very.
It is. And now INEC reassuring us that postponement will not happen eventually is great. And it goes to show that some people who have been agitating that it be not postponed would be, happy right now. And then, Northwest and Southwest stopping this is not new, and it's not even surprising because we have two of the strong candidates from the North, and we also have two from the South, and then, those from the North have,
always had a higher population.
Exactly. So it's really not surprising at all. But then Lagos is doing well, and then Kano, I think, maybe like for the first time, because Kano is always having very high population. Yeah. And
for the first time, Kano is really down. Not really down.
Not too down, but then, not topping the charts this time.
Yes. Well, that goes to tell you that if all goes well, 9 million votes plus will be coming from those just two states. But then, of course, we know how it is on election day.
Yes, many people may not
to vote. Well, below that banner headline is a picture of President Buhari receiving Catholic Bishop Conference of Nigeria in Abuja, and you can see him having a handshake with Bishop Matthew Kuka, who is a very strong critic of government, and has really had very strong words for President Muhammadu Buhari, particularly on the new year. It's interesting to see that they are shaking hands. I think that for all of his flaws and shortcomings, President Buhari has a large heart, a sort of accommodating heart. He strikes me as someone who just wants to flex, just wants to live life and, no stress, all of those things. But, well, you never can tell. It's just what we see.
Well, I just see that these people are just different sides of a particular coin.
Yes.
You have the political leaders, you have religious leaders, and you have traditional leaders. All those people have to work hand in hand to move the nation forward. And then you cannot really rule out any sector. You have to work with them. if you know you really want to canvass votes. And so this is a time to bury hatchets if you have any, and I'm not surprised at all.
Very quickly, at the bottom strip of the paper, marketers project 6-month fuel scarcity. Very scary.
Yes,
Jailing my
very.
husband's killer will caution drunk drivers. The widow of slain baker. CCTV exposes Ogun Hotel murder suspect. Well, 6 months fuel scarcity. A very scary prediction there from the marketers themselves.
And the marketers seem to be gaining, such confidence that I don't even understand, saying that there'll be, forecasting for about 6 months is really shocking, and it's not going to augur well for the people.
Yes.
Seeing as we've just done about 2-3 months, and it's not been smooth at all.
No, you can't really fault them, to be fair. Some of them also buy petrol from the depot at some exorbitant prices, and when you factor all the cost of delivering, and they also want to make profit, good profit if you like. So we really can't blame them. We can only hope that government agencies
better policies will be
come
put
in
in
and
place.
stop what looks like a very terrible time ahead for the country. Now, above the nameplate, PDP seeks alliance with 11 parties. Just as we were saying yesterday, it was the APC that was seeking alliance.
Yes, now it's the PDP.
Now it's the PDP. Time to crisscross and convince people to be your ally in the forthcoming election. UK shuts Obi's company over account issues. It's coming as a report there on page 21 of the Punch newspaper. Interesting one. INEC can't be trusted for credible poll show, right? That's on page 13. I find this kind of statement unnecessary, and I think it comes from people who are cantankerous and rabble-rousers. You know that your chances of winning the election is slim. And so the next thing you do is to cast aspersions on the body saddled with the responsibility of carrying out the election, so that when the results come out, you can say, I said so.
Exactly.
I mean, other parties have expressed confidence in that. No system is perfect.
No.
So you can't say they can't be trusted. That's for someone who's a public figure, you sway public opinion to some level. And then some people run with this and feel, oh, the AI has said it, INEC. These things are not good for the polity at all.
No, not good. So I think that the burden rests on the INEC again to keep reassuring people that there will be credible polls no matter what anyone is saying.
Well, Chime in Namani, just besides the nameplate, Namani, others, Sean Tinubu's Enugu rally, quite interesting because Sullivan, Chime, and Ken Namani.
This goes to show that it goes to show a lot, and it shows that the APC might not exactly be the perfect picture that we've been looking at. So they might just have a better way of handling their differences, other than
much has been said about the crisis rocking the PDP, and of course the Labour Party when Obi initially joined, but little has been said about some of the issues within the APC. There have been mass resignations from the presidential campaign and so on. Some of the party structures across the country, but they seem to have a very good way of covering it up or managing it, if you like. But that's all on the Punch newspaper this morning.
All right, moving on to the Nation newspapers, we have the banner headline similar to that of the Punch saying Northwest Southwest top 93.5 million likely voters, and then the writer says Lagos leads with 7 million. INEC releases voter list to parties. 49.5 million men, 44.4 million women, and 37 million youths registered. Are you bothered by the ratio of men to women and to youth, Emmanuel?
Well, I think that this is a time where youth have expressed so much interest in participating in the elections. And that shows that now they want to take their destinies into their hands. But I am worried because we have a larger youth population than that of the older people. And if this percentage, we must say that it's very good, it's good, but more can be done. And that means for that to happen, people need to have thorough confidence in the process. I mean, we see the votes that some reality shows have. Why can't that translate into the political system?
Yes.
People will give you excuses. Our votes count on the reality show. We know they'll count our votes. Blah blah blah.
Exactly.
There's no vote buying, but there is vote buying. You people can vouch for votes, but that's another discussion. The thing is, we need to understand that the change can only stand with us. If you don't participate, you don't have the right to complain. Your one vote may be what sways the nation in the right direction. So I am worried about the number of youths, but it's also good to see the number. Yeah,
exactly.
It's also good to see the number of women. 44.4 million women interested, very interested.
Keeping almost abreast with men. It's very close.
And of course, women have always been there, even in the political positions, which is also another discussion that we must have. Politics should be gender neutral, gender fluid.
Okay. All right, so just above the nameplate, we have APC PCC challenges Atiku on alleged corruption health status. This health status controversies keeps popping up here and there. It was the APC's Tinubu the other time. Now it's Atiku. I don't know why we have to have controversies around our presidential candidate or whatever candidate at all. I don't know why we have to have controversies around their credibility, around their health status, or every other thing about them. We could have people with a clean bill of health and other things, instead of being alleged of corruption, your health status being bad and all that.
The last time in recent history that we had a president whose health was not in question was Goodluck Jonathan. Before that, there were health issues. Buhari came in and there were some issues.
Exactly.
The APC's candidate, some health issues. The PDP's candidate, some health issues. I mean, even the vice presidential candidate of the APC was quoted as saying some days ago that Tinubu is healthier than him, that he has diabetes and I think hypertension or something. I mean, two men are. If Tinubu is healthier than Shettima, then there's a problem.
Yes.
Because he's older and obviously age setting and all of that. But it is worrisome that our leading presidential candidates have health and corruption issues hanging around them. We should not be here as a people. It speaks largely to ourselves as a people,
Yes. And we should move away from that soon enough. All right, still above the nameplate, we have Ekiti indebted to Tinubu, says Governor Yebanji. We're going to get back to this, but then 13 Edo train passengers still with kidnappers. This Ekiti being indebted to Tinubu, I wonder why the governor is making such statements. I mean, such statements to me seem unfounded. You can't say you as a person is indebted to Tinubu. You are indebted to Tinubu, but saying that the whole of Ekiti is indebted to Tinubu, I don't know how that is true.
I was thinking to myself this morning, I was going to make a tweet about it, how we have made politics and political offices compensatory. It is no longer a reward for hard work and meritocracy. It is now a thank you gift. It is now, this person has done this for us. And a person can be a very charitable person. They can be a philanthropist, but not a good political administrator. They are two different things. You can't say that an entire state, within that state, there are people who are not on the same ideological and political page with Tinubu. You can't pack all of them, lump them together and say everybody in the state is indebted to him. No. If you, like you said, if you have a personal relationship that you feel you need to thank him, throw a party in his honor. And that's my grasp with everyone who has been saying, he has helped this, he has done this, he has done that. Go to church and do a Thanksgiving, write a book to thank him. Don't entrust political offices into the hands of people because they've been good to you in the past. It is the future of millions, hundreds of millions that you're giving. You want to give to someone because the person has somehow contributed to your own personal life and career. That is selfish. That is uncalled for, and it is wicked. I think it is
That's
really
the word.
wicked.
Yes.
You can't push someone forward for no other reason than the fact that he has helped. And that's the entitlement mentality Chief Obasanjo was talking about in his letter. You can't say that it is your turn because I helped bring this person to power. I helped this person get to this position. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma. You were just being good. Except, of course, you now say that charity is business. That means when you do good, you expect returns, which in the original sense of this is antithetical to the essence and the concept of goodwill. When you do good, you are not planting a seed that you will go to reap. The world, the universe, God somehow pays it back to you, but it's not something you demand for. You don't give a beggar money today and then tomorrow you say, I have enemies, I want you to come help me fight. It means you were using the beggar. That's what it means. So
there were means to an end.
Yes, I don't know why a governor would say an entire state is intended. This is what gives some of his elder statesmen the boldness to make certain statements. You know, say that I am as rich or richer than his state. I am this and that. You know, some of these things are not very good for the polity. They're not really savory for us.
They're not at all. And then 13 Edo train passengers still with kidnappers. We hope that the security forces can intensify efforts to get these people out of the kidnappers' net.
Well,
all right, just below the nameplate, we have Court sacks Ondo Deputy Speaker, and then Ogun Agro Cargo Airport ready first quarter. Just here on the Nation newspapers. Then below the newspaper, just the bottom strip, bandits kill community leader nephew, abduct 4 housewives in Kaduna. There's still our security system is still a bit shaky, and we need to beef it up. If bandits can just go into a community and abduct the leader and his nephew, then the community people are not safe. They're not safe at all.
Well, it will appear that nowhere is safe.
Nowhere.
Not even the churches, not even the mosques, not even schools. Nowhere is safe. And we just pray. We'll keep, as Nigerians, we pray. We always pray to God when we know what to do. But then that's a discussion for another day. We just hope and pray that the government continues to do right by its citizens.
Yes.
That's our prayers.
All right. Just before we leave the Nation newspapers, we have just below this picture, we have Southeast to become industrial hub, says Tinubu. That's another campaign promise, because this was at a campaign rally in Enugu. And then he made that statement that Southeast is to become industrial hub. I think this is another ploy to, canvass votes from the Southeast and to, plant yourself in their hearts as a person, a savior of some sort, somehow. So another one says Boko Haram, a plot to destroy Nigeria. That's from our president, Muhammadu Buhari said so. Boko Haram, a plot to destroy Nigeria. Of course, it is to destroy Nigeria, but then, is it a plot? Who plotted them?
Well, we'll get to know that. If you want to know that, know about that story, please check page 1 of the Nation newspaper. Is it all for us on the Nation?
That's all for
okay, so let's move over to the Daily Trust this morning. The Daily Trust newspaper says, "Don't sell your votes." That's just below the nameplate. "Don't sell your votes." General Abdulsalami charges electorate. Kebbi abduction. Parents selling properties to pay 100 million naira ransom. Zazawa Emirate dismisses palace aid over gang rape. We'll come back to the stories, but the banner headline says, "Elections will hold as scheduled. Buhari assures no postponement. INEC youth stop registered voters. Commissions begin to airlift of sensitive materials." That's on page 4 of the Daily Trust newspaper this morning. Votes. Electorates not selling their votes. Quite some charge there from General Salami.
Yes.
What do you think about that?
Well, we need to keep telling people not to sell their votes, because vote buying is still very much here. I mean, as we saw in Ekiti and we cannot rule it out that it didn't happen here in Osho.
Oh, it did.
As well.
There's cases in court.
Exactly. So we should keep telling and keep educating the electorate not to sell their votes, because it is their right and nobody has the right to buy their votes.
Well, also the Kebbi abduction, parents selling properties to pay 100 million naira and some.
So,
again, we shouldn't be getting to this point.
we shouldn't.
We should not. People have struggled in their heydays to build things, to put things together, and now they are
Having to sell them to pay
really
ransom.
just sad, very sad.
Some, nameless people, just because they're having things that are precious to them, people precious to them. I think we still have a way of negotiating with these people. And if we don't, the people believe that if we don't negotiate with them, if we don't do their bidding, we might lose the people precious to us. But then the country as a whole, I'm talking about our representatives now, the federal government, is not doing enough not to make people negotiate with these people. So it goes to show why some countries don't negotiate with terrorists, because they will keep coming and coming again. You keep having issues like that recurring, and not just once in a while, but then overly, it becomes a recurrent issue.
All right, very quickly, because of our time, still on the Daily Trust newspaper, U.S.-Nigerian flights disrupted after American system glitch. Quite a number of flights were grounded in the U.S. Yesterday. Ganduje Kanu will repeat 1993 presidential election. Of course, you can understand why he's saying that, because of the figures, voters coming out from Kanu, as released by INEC. NNPP urges security agencies to go after anti-democracy forces. And the last story there at the bottom strip is policy uncertainty, inflation to slow Nigeria's economic growth. The World Bank says growth will decelerate to 2.9% in 2023. Projections reflect current realities, is according to experts. That's what we have on the Daily Trust. We can breeze through the Guardian.
All right, breezing through the Guardian this morning, we have the headline saying INEC assures poll must hold, says 93.4 million eligible to vote. And the writer says deletes underage voters. Lagos Kano maintain lead, Southeast lowest. Commission begins airlift of sensitive materials to states. IPAC vows to resist anti-democratic forces. Now above the headline, we have Edo train attack, 20 kidnapped, not 32, says Commissioner. I thought it was even 31, not even 32. But now the real figure, according to the Commissioner, says 20 and not 32. Obi Kwankwanso Yakubu for Chatham House next week. I still find this very disturbing that we have to go to this Chatham House, outside the shores of our country to, seek validation, or, we just have to get there somehow I don't know why we have to do that.
Well, we've always said it. We are yet to mature politically, and that's why it reflects in some issues like this. We will get to the point where we are actually very politically mature.
Yes, and we have not to seek validation outside our country or our people. Now, Supreme Court rules on Jigawa APC Guba ticket tomorrow as Apex Court upholds Kaduna's. That's on page 4. Now, bandits killed 2, abduct 4 women in Kaduna. Now, the bottom strip of the paper says, insecurity, police direct operatives to intensify stop search operation in FCT. Safety system failure in US grounds over 5,000 flights.
Well, that's that on the Guardian newspaper this morning. Some interesting stories coming out of the Guardian newspaper. And of course, all other papers this morning. We'll go on a break now. When we return, we'll be looking at an issue in Osun State where the governor has brought up a new park management system as opposed to what was on ground. We'll be speaking to the consultant in charge of that project, and he will be helping us understand some of the details, some of the nitty-gritty of the new park management system. So stay with us.
Arrested, affected, sound, found. What do we see? What do we say? Flowing from a spring. A fact A to Z. Check and confirm. Eva is pounding current events, traveling down from the business gist to the globally arising happenings, to the sports news, to the bittersweet infos. Guided transmission, even diffusion, vast and fast. Detailed facts are fled. Within seconds, nuggets of words that flew across borders are fired. Stories short and long, wrapped in bundles of words, broken and dissected as it is, except misheard. This is the news as it is.
Turn it up! It's the Wild Wild West, and Western Spring Television is pulling out all the stops to make sure that you don't miss out on every of the fun and happenings around you. Yup, we've got you covered because your girl got all the juiciest tidbits and entertainment news from around the world. Cross over to the chocolatey side of entertainment. Join me, Chocolate Cassie, on Eccentric as we take you into every bit of the juiciest news, fashion, music, movie updates, and other trending conversations. Together on the show, we'll get personal with your favorite celebrities via phone call, Zoom, or even live here in the studio. Eccentric will be shown on your TV screen on Western Spring Television, channel 190, only on StarTimes.
Welcome back to the show. It's still Morning Spring on Western Spring Television, where we're bringing you what is happening around you and telling you what exactly these things mean and how they affect you as a person. We're reaching you live from Osogbo, the Osun State capital, on StarTimes channel 190, DTT platform. And of course, you can follow the conversation on all our social media platforms, on Facebook and Instagram at Western Spring Television, on Twitter at WSTV_NG, and you can check us out on YouTube at Western Spring Television and subscribe to our channel. And this morning we'll be sticking with Osun State and looking at some issues around transport in the state. Now on Monday, Governor Demola Adeleke inaugurated a committee, a new park management system to oversee transport affairs in the state. And we have the consultant in charge of that on the show this morning. He'll be joining us live via Zoom. Professor Abdurrahman Afonja is the consultant in charge of that new park management scheme and system. And he is with us on the show this morning. Good morning, Professor.
Good morning. How you doing,
Good morning, sir.
All right, thank you. Thank you for joining us on the show this morning.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so let's get down to it. 4 weeks ago, Governor Demola Adeleke made a promise that he was going to rid Osun State of violence in parks. And then just after some weeks after that statement, a Monday happened. Can you take us through how Governor Adeleke came to the conclusion that he needed to come up with a new park management system?
Yes, thank you for having me once again. I think the premise behind what His Excellency actually talked about, changing the system that we had in place before he came into office, is one. The fact that the IGF of the state is on the low end, and he doesn't believe in taking loans in order to get infrastructure done. As you can see, I think by the time they got into office, they made a lot of loans on weapons, and he believes that it is not fair for the state to mortgage the future of kids away. That's the reason why we discussed and he called me in to see how we can overhaul the transport management system of the state. which is one, to make sure that the people who are at the parks, who are collecting money, and the money that has been collected goes into government coffers. One thing that we found over the years, and this happened in Oyo as well, that's happened in Ondo, in Lagos, and Ogun, to just for certain examples, is to make sure that the state government collects the money that's entitled to in those parks, and also make sure that the money that's made in Osun stays in Osun, because as you know, with the union that was in place before the TMS started, the money's been made, we don't know where the money goes to, and none is being paid into the government coffers. So what we're trying to do now is to bring in a new system, one, that will get rid of violence and the security challenges that have been happening over the years, and two, to increase the IGR of the state. Three, to create some sort of employment for these people. Four, so to capture these people as taxpayers of the state. A lot of these people in the parks have never paid a dime to the state coffers as taxpayers. A lot of them see themselves as touts, as thugs, and it's being used by people. So all of these things is something that we are planning to address as soon as possible. And we'll make sure that money is made, which is revenue for the state, which is more like a road tax, must be paid into the state coffers. And also those must be paid by the transport system can be used to basically to build infrastructures in the state. New roads, potholes. As you can see in the Shugwe, when you go to Shugwe and down the ride, there's a lot of potholes that is excellent in the ground. These monies that we made from these parks and these roads can be used to address infrastructural issues.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned thugs and some of the issues around the park system that you met on the ground. Now, some persons have said this is a political move because some of the NURTW, the unions who were there before, were allegedly loyal to the former governor, and to ensure that there's a smooth administration, there are no obstacles from that end. That's why the governor did this. Is there a political undertone to this new arrangement?
There is no political undertone to this. Let me set an example. 97.6% of the people that were integrated into the TMS structure are union members. The remaining 3%, which is the leadership, are the ones who are booking this system. And I've met with every one of them, even as of yesterday, the leadership of the union that were in government before His Excellency came into office. I met with them, I see them as stakeholders. They were being tried to brought into the system. Some of them said they don't want to be there, they want to stick with their unions. The government does not believe in proscription unless if they break the law. The government believes in freedom of association. What the government is saying is the money that belongs to the state should go into the state coffers. The government is trying to make sure there is no loopholes, no corruption in the system, and every penny that's being generated for revenue, it remains and should be in the state coffers. And that's what we're trying to do that. Let's enumerate what's in the system. The transport system in this state is a billionaire sector, and the state has not gotten one naira from these people. The people that work with the so-called union, the individuals that work there, are not even taxpayers. And they have vehicles running them, traveling from interstate, intrastate, and all over the place, and they're not paying for nothing.
Well, if I get you correctly, Professor, you're saying that for years that the unions have been running, including the NURTW, they have not remitted a single kobo to the state?
No, they claim they've been giving money to some people in the previous government. From the meeting we had yesterday, but the government is not getting a dime. So it's time for us to make sure that we know the value of the system, how much is in the transport industry. And to know that to generate the system is for the state to have one single ticketing system that will be accounted for. This system includes overlaps. Because you state Internal Revenue Service, we have the Ministry of Work and Transport, Office of Transportation will be involved, the General Office will be involved, okay? The Auditor General of the state also will be involved. These offices will play a role in making sure that we get rid of all those loopholes and corruption that's already within the system. So the goal is to make sure that the money that's in this system goes into the state coffers, so that the government can have enough money to cut its vision. Simple as that. Dividend of democracy.
All right, so how do you intend to remedy this situation? What are the parameters that your administration is going to put in place to make sure that the monies generated go to the government coffers?
So I mentioned that it's a one single ticketing system. Once we enumerate the system, we're going to bring in technologies also to make sure that there's no duplication of tickets. There's no, and we're going to be giving them a target as well. Okay. The other thing we've also done is we've created a structure, what we like to call a TMS structure, that's the leadership through all 30 local governments. Okay. These people will be responsible for selling the tickets to the motors of the vehicles that go through the state, and then they will remit the money on a weekly basis back to the state coffers. Then, as you know, there's something more than there's the work we have to also do is to make sure that we keep our eye on them, because they are not independent contractors to the state. They are not civil servants. They are not government employees, but they will be independent contractors that work under the consultant. Am I clear?
Okay, so now you mentioned something earlier that I would like to take you back to. You were talking about integration of the current union workers into the new system, and you said that some of them said they do not want to be part of the new system. Can and will the new and old system run side by side?
No, they can't run side by side. So
what happens to those people who are not interested?
There's a precedence, right? Whereby when the state government gives union members to sell tickets for them to sell for the state, right? They tend to sell their own ticket more than the state's ticket. And what we are saying is they have to be a one single ticketing system in place.
And so how were they different ticketing system? Can you take us through that?
I can hear you.
How were there different ticketing systems? How did it work? How was it
Network
working?
issues.
Oh my, seems we're having some network issues there.
I can hear you now.
You can hear me now. Okay, so I was saying that how did we even get to the point of having different ticketing systems? What did you meet on ground? Let me take you away from what you were saying now. What did you meet on ground in terms of ticketing? You were saying something about different tickets.
Yeah, so the union from the national headquarters in Abuja sends a certain number of tickets to each state to be sold by the people to vehicles. I believe when you talk about union, labor union, it should be membership fee. That, okay, you now are part of a union, a membership fee is maybe 50 naira. But in this case, they are using this ticketing system from their own end to siphon money from Osun State and other states to their own coffers. They are reaching themselves. Where states are struggling and borrowing money and collecting loans at higher interest rates. This is to stop. What the government is actually doing is to be innovative. How do we increase up here? What's the loopholes? How do we deal with this? And you should applaud this new government coming in saying that we cannot borrow and mortgage the future of kids away. Let's see what area of revenue we can actually make sure we block the loopholes. And also making sure that he also tells me, he says, please, my people come first. Make sure they are not uncomfortable with this system. Make sure that the pricing is on the low end. And I think what is being done in the system going January 1st? How much is the system? Let me give you an example. A vehicle that leaves from Osogbo going to Lagos, a bus. After loading, after the passenger bought the bus, they charge the driver 7,000 naira. A vehicle leaving from Osogbo going to Abuja, the guys in the park collected 25,000 naira from that person, the driver. These monies, where is this money going to? It's being shared among themselves, among the leadership, and some of the money being sent to Abuja. That's why they are fighting against the system, because they know the money is there. So it is just like me taking money from your pocket. Once you push back, that's exactly what's happening. Let's admit the system. The government is very transparent. Let the system take its course, and let's report back to the public and say this is what we found out in the system. And I told them, if you believe that there's no money, let us give it a try. Let's check it out. I've done it before, I've seen it before, and I know there's money in this system. So that's what we're saying.
All right, Prof. This report here says a fulfillment of his earlier promise, that speaking of Governor Adeleke now, to sanitize the current park system and ensure commuters enjoy a new lease of safe and secure transportation. How is this going to work, the secure transportation?
I'm just saying that. Can you repeat your question, please?
I said that this report said Governor Adeleke is going to give a new lease of safe and secure transportation. How is the secure transportation system going to work? How are you going to make it secure, or more secure than it has been?
Yeah, so I believe in human development. I believe in training, right? Before they're going to fully start, we'll make sure we have 3 days training, all right? To, in a way to let them understand what the code of conduct is, why we are doing what we're doing, so they can also understand our expectations as a state, and also to have security agencies come in and educate them and tell them, these are the rules, this is what you have to do, this is what you can do, and redirect after them. Because what we're also trying to do for them is to let them know that they are employees, they are not union. So there's no need for somebody, because there's a precedent that has been set in the past, where when one government leaves, another government comes in, there will be a takeover of the parks. We want to put a stop to that. So once we have people in the park working as temporary workers, as employees, there will be no need to have such to happen. Then we'll have security agents coming in and talk to them. We have public administrators coming in and talk to them. Human resources people also come in and speak to them as to what they can do and what they can't do. And then they will know that they break the law, they'll be arrested and they'll be prosecuted. So these mechanisms we put in place. The structure in terms of the leadership also has already been put in place, and we're going to evaluate them. And they know that if they break the law, they will be arrested and they will be fired. This is not unionism. This is more than employment. So the government is also using the opportunity to create an employment avenue for a lot of people in tens of thousands, and that same money will go back into the economy, whereby this money can be spent in the market, and everybody will be happy, and the government will also have money to basically carry out their infrastructural projects.
All right, so let me take you back to that question about what will happen to those who have said they are not interested in joining the new system. How do you intend to either phase them out or to find a way to reintegrate them into your new system?
First thing first, like I told them yesterday, you have to respect the law. There's a law in Osun State. And if this state must remain peaceful, because I'm from here as well. I'm from Igbajo. And I must say that when I met with them, the leadership, they are very small in number, I must say that. And even when we were at the meeting, some of their own members that have been integrated into the TMS structure were even giving them feedback as to what's going on in their own meeting. So they are part of the system anyway. But we are also saying, come in, you are welcome, come and contribute your quota to the development of Osun State. And if they refuse, they can sit at home. One of them, who happens to be the chairman of the union, Alaji Rauf, he's part of the disciplinary committee. He was offered a chance, he was given an opportunity. If you write up back and say, I'm not interested, that's on him. But if they have the interest of the state at heart, and they want to make sure that this governor succeeds, they should all come on board. Unless there's something else that we don't know that they're doing. But after this, I told them, do not break the law, do not disrupt the peace in the state. And if that doesn't happen, then we are good. If they do, then they have to face the law.
All right, let's come back to the management of the parks. Not all vehicles stay at the parks. We have some vehicles commuting from the roadside. How does this management intend to solve this problem? And then we come to the cost of transportation in the state.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello, did you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. A call came in, so I have to
Okay, I said, how does this park management system intend to solve the issue of these commuters who pick people by the sides of the road?
Yes, sir. Go ahead, ma'am. I'm listening. Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Hello, ma'am. I can hear you now. Yes, please, go ahead.
All right, the park management system, how does it intend to solve the issue of commuting people from the sides of the road?
Thank you. This is what the system is going to take care of. As you can see, there's a lot of congestion on the road. People just picking up passengers in the middle of the road. Motorcycles driving anyhow. Also, even security, when it comes to the car riders, you can also tell that a lot of crimes being committed is done or committed by people who have motorcycles. So we're going to enrich all these people, make sure they are all fully registered in the state, make sure they are licensed, properly licensed. We'll take their profile, and also make sure that there'll be a task force which will work with the VIO to make sure that we basically resolve some of these issues whereby passengers are being picked up on the side of the road. Everybody should pull over to a side where it's safe and people can actually get into the vehicle. But little issues like like that is the reason why this PMS is there. To overhaul the system, make sure there are no security challenges through the transport system, make sure there's no, we decongest the road as well, and then there'll be a line whereby we can also report and give feedback as to how this system is also working.
All right, the cost of transportation, I'm talking about interstate transportation now. Is the management, going to regulate this price?
Yes, we will. Because one of the things we find out is, like I give an example, a driver that's going from Oshogo to Abuja will probably, from what last time I investigated this, they collected 25,000 naira from him. So with that tells you that somebody's paying for it, and the passengers are the one paying for it. So what we're also going to be doing is, while we're enumerating the system, we also have to take a look at the cost. And we also have to remember that the issue of fuel is also there. So all these factors, all these parameters will be looked at, and the government will be advised accordingly that this is what's being charged, this is how we can go basically manage this issue and put some kind of regulation or consumer regulation in place so that people that live and commute from Osun State will be at peace and they can actually have enough money in their pocket.
So one of the recurring themes of Governor Adeleke's statement is overhaul. He wants to overhaul the transport system in its entirety and bring sanity to it. There are issues of intra-states now, the minibuses, Korokwes, and all of that, causing some sort of traffic mayhem by stopping anyhow to pick passengers. Will we see the introduction or reintroduction of bus stops in under your consultancy?
Yes, there have to be a pickup point, right? Because they're causing nuisance. I've seen that. I've been around for the last 4 months, driving around to see what we can do. We've identified some few places where they can also have a chance to pick up their passengers. And also, like I said, enforcement in terms of task force with VIO under the Ministry of Transport will be brought in as well to make sure that these people do not break the law. However, prior to that, we're going to educate them, we're going to sensitize them. Next week, we're having a training. Some of the things we're going to talk about during our training to make sure they understand our expectations. They also have their own task force, TMS. We'll also use that to reinforce some of these things. And as we move along, we'll continue to treat the system, we'll get feedback from the public, and see what areas we can also address.
All right, so now let's get back to this management system now. You mentioned something about takeover of parks when a new government comes in. Now, we struggle to understand why there has to be a takeover. If there's an established leadership, why is there always a need for takeovers that result into violence? Perhaps it has to do with the thuggery you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, for me, like I said earlier, when money is involved, right, people get greedy, people get desperate, and then people start choosing sides, right? And people will be like, oh, you were in APC for a little while. I came in, been sitting out here as a PDP member for all this while. It's our time to come in. All these issues can only be resolved if there's a permanent structure in place, which the government can find a leadership at any time. The government can say, you know what, you were leading the Okada riders and you're not performing. You're causing issues in the state, you have to go. You're leading the vehicles section, you're causing nuisance, and there have been a lot of complaints about you, you will go. That's why we have the disciplinary committee in place. The disciplinary committee will comprise of some civil servants. We have people who have experience in the construction industry. We have people from the Commissioner of Works and Transport. You have the finance in place, OIRS also in place. The Auditor General also going to be in place. These people will sit down and have a say on some of the issues that comes to their table or complaints that comes to their table to make sure that everybody are in line with what's been put in place.
So let's talk about your own system now. What are the fail-safe measures to ensure that there are some of these issues do not come up, because you cannot take away the human tendency to be greedy, like you've just said. What are the fail-proof or fail-safes that have been put in place?
So the first thing we've done is to create a structure that have leadership across the state, right? And they're all going to be held accountable, all right? 2, we have a one-ticketing system across the state, which means that no other ticket should be sold. No other station should sell any ticket but a state ticket, okay? 3, law enforcement is part of what we do, which means that if they break the law, they will be arrested and we will prosecute them, okay? 4, we talk about human development, which is why we're having a training next week, and we'll continue to have training maybe every quarterly or maybe every two months to make sure that leadership still understands and they're still grounded in what the task that was given to them. So continuous training, engagement, feedback from the public will help us continue to improve the system. There's no 100% perfect system in place. We have to continue to make sure that we improve upon what we made on ground. But every state is unique. So we have to understand the environment we are in and also make sure that feedback from the public matters.
Well, some persons have been reporting this issue using the word prescribed, that the governor has prescribed the NURTW, the RTN, and some of all of those other unions. I'd like you to be very clear with our viewers this morning. Is prescription what Governor Adeleke did?
I think transparency is one of the mantle of His Excellency, right? Senator Adeleke, Jackson Adeleke, right? I've never seen anywhere written or him saying that any association or union has been proscribed. What he's actually saying is nobody from this union or association should sell any ticket on behalf of the state.
But does that not mean that the unions will no longer function, or would they still work?
No. And I'll give you an example. You and I could be a member of an association. Our membership fee could be 50 naira. That's okay. But when you're collecting funds from people in the state, and the money is not going to the state coffers as a revenue, then that's a problem. That's what we are saying. That issue needs to be addressed. Some people are getting rich, okay, making money from this system, send their kids to the UK, to the US, okay, buying dollars and pounds. And what other people
from money generated in parks? Is there so much money in the parks?
So what we're saying is, what's that?
I said from money generated from the parks, is that how huge the money comes in?
Yeah, that's how they've been doing it. I mean, it's in the public domain, the public information. You will see people in this union system buying cars, building houses for people. So where's the money coming from? These monies need to stay in the state so that we don't have potholes on the road. We don't have to mortgage the future of our kids away. The governor believes that he doesn't want to go into borrowing loan. And the only way, the first thing he can do is, one, make sure that system is corruption proof. Make sure all loopholes in the system are blocked. Make sure it increases IGR. Also make sure that he's considerate about the people that he's here to serve. Make sure they don't feel uncomfortable. Like the lady asked me just now, the other your partner, she asked me about how we're gonna go about making sure that the increment in the fees that people are paying to truck is not the high side. It's only on the high side. We're gonna go to the system, we're gonna push the system, break the system, then we'll now go back and say, you know what? These factors such as increase in fuel, this is what you guys have been making all along, we're gonna drop these prices, and that will allow people to be all happy because the governor is thinking for them and is there to serve them.
All right, just before we go.
Oh, go ahead. Temitope has a question for you.
Just before we go, let's talk about the new employees. How well would they be taken care of, seeing that there is huge money in the parks?
Ma'am, I didn't hear the first part. What you said, the first part.
I said, talking about the employees now of the park management system. How well would they be taken care of, seeing that there is huge money?
His network on your end is a bit, I don't know.
Can you hear me now, please?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah,
I said, how well will the employees be taken care of, seeing as there is huge money in the park?
Well, at some point, it just goes low, so I can hear you.
Okay. How well would you take care of these new employees?
Same issues, ma'am. Same issues.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you well.
Okay.
The only mistake somewhere I'm having a problem.
So what she's saying is that this person who will be working with your transport management system, how well will you take care of them? Because now it seems that you're taking some juicy stuff from them, and then how do you intend to compensate for that?
What we're doing is a commission-based, right? So commission-based, what we're going to do, we're going to see what's in the system, we're going to make what's in the system. We're all going to sit down together and say, you know what? The structure on the branch level, unit level, and the state level, the leadership, this is what you're going to pay on month, this is what you're going to get on a monthly basis. We can resolve to do a weekly salary payment, which is done in the Western culture. So it's all sitting together, negotiating, and how they're going to get paid. But like I said earlier, what's in the system. We need to understand what's in the system. The money, which
Looks like we've lost Professor Afonja there, but I was trying to...
I believe.
Okay, welcome back. Welcome back. Go ahead, please.
Well, what I said was, it's a commission-based system, right? They are more like independent contractors, okay? So with due time, we can literally enumerate the system, see what's there, and then we're going to put them on a salary. But for now, it's based on commission. We are giving them a target based on what we know exists in the system. It's a multi-billion naira sector.
So, well, this multi-billion naira sector, so much has been said about the vehicle part, about the buses and all of it. Let's come to the cycles now. Starting with tricycles, they are on the rise in Osun State, especially Osogbo, the metropolis. They are becoming, there's a proliferation of tricycles. How are you intending to manage the tricycle part of all of this transport system?
So it depends. So your question is if they are causing a nuisance, am I right?
No, I'm saying that they are on the rise. Now we're having more and more people delving into that side of the sector. How do you intend to manage them too? Much has been said about motor parks for the buses and all of that. But let's come down to the cycles sector now.
Okay, this is like I said earlier too. The cycles, like I call them, which includes motorcycles and tricycles. We're going to start enumerating them from next week. We want to know the number of motorcycles and tricycles that we have in the state. We have a structure already been set, and their job is to make sure to manage what's been done, right? And how their code of conduct, how they go about their daily business, right? So, and then, like I said, we're going to let them know our expectations. As long as they are following whatever expectations we've given to them, and they are law-abiding citizens, we shouldn't have much of a problem with that. We also have to make sure they're all licensed, and make sure they all have insurance. There have been instances, I saw somebody the other day that was on a bike, and the bike, I think, hit a car, and they fell. They actually ran into a car. Issues like this need to be resolved. I don't believe the guy has an insurance. When I look at the back of his motorcycle, it doesn't even have a plate. So these are the things we're going to address. And as we move along, the feedback we get from the public can also be integrated into how to improve on the system.
All right, so let's still talking about the cycles now. The past administration at some point talked about getting uniforms and ID cards for some of the riders. Will you be continuing that policy?
Yeah, doing our enumeration, that's what we're going to do. We've already set up the database for that. You're going to have a reflective jacket. That jacket will have a code, and that code will indicate if your bike is registered, you reside in Iwo, for example, and coming to work in Osogbo. So when you come in, we'll know who's who, right? Because when people come from out of town to commit a crime in Osogbo. So this jacket and APD, then we're going to have an e-tag. That e-tag will be on bikes and cars, and to make sure that people can actually verify the profile of the person who is riding the bike or who is driving the vehicle. So things like that is being brought into the system, and we'll make sure that we'll put that in place.
Well, that looks like a lot for the administration of Governor Adeleke. Some of the things you're saying are quite innovative and will cost a lot. What is the cost estimate? What are you looking at spending to ensure sanity in the transport system? Mind giving us a figure, some sort of estimate? How long will it take you to do this? There's so many bike riders in Osun State.
So, like I said earlier, they have stations, right? They have units. We'll leverage on that to begin with. We'll capture all the members they have in place. It will be a better process, right? But we'll find a way to speed up on these things. And then we'll take their profile, put them in a database. We are working with the Ministry of Work and Transport anyway. This is going to be a joint task that in order to accomplish our goal. So we'll continue to work on it. And then in due time, we'll report back to the public.
So let's look at the constitution of the committee now. The disciplinary committee is composed of 11 members, including representative of the Commissioner of Works and Transport, that's the Office of Transportation, representative of the Commissioner of Finance, representative of the consultant, that's yourself, representative of OIRS, and Alhaji Fakorede Rauf. You said that some of these persons, a few persons in the old order, especially Alhaji Fakorede, so some of them may not want to join you. So what happens when you have that loophole in the committee? How do you plug it?
There are other people who are willing, who are at his level in terms of the union, who understand the construction industry, who bring such people in. I hope, based on my meeting with him yesterday and his people, that he reconsider and he put aside his own selfish interest, which is put Osun first, which is to make sure that he serves the people, right? Because what we're called, people on the strike committee, their job is to serve the people and help make sure that what we're trying to do or what the government's trying to accomplish gets done.
So mind telling us how the leadership of this new system was arrived at? What was the process like that brought in Wakil Nuruddin Olurumbi for the vehicle sector and Oyeniyi Sikiru-Ayobami for the cycle sector? I have another question I want to ask you, but I want you to speak to this first. What was the screening process like? How did you arrive here? What were the parameters that led to picking the leadership of these sectors?
The first thing is we believe in local intelligence and consultation with stakeholders. They also have an input in the say in there, okay? And then I always tell people that regardless of, everyone has a past, right, in life. What happens in the future is what really matters. And everybody that on that TMS structure, there are people who have the local intelligence of what's happening in those parts. You cannot bring outsiders that doesn't understand what's going on into the system. So we just have to rebrand them, educate them, and also make sure that we read the right act, which is if you break the law, you face the consequences of the law. It's very simple. It's a black and white thing. So all that you see is from consultation, meeting with stakeholders, and that's how we came about the TMS and the structured leadership. And we hope, and like I said, every one of them, anyone in that structure can be fired tomorrow. They are an employee. Unlike the union system whereby it's about the strongest man that's going to go into the party to go to power. We are trying to move away from such. So that we'll make sure that these people understand that they are defense contractors and the governor can fire anybody at any time and bring a new set of people.
All right. The reason I asked about how you arrived at the leadership was because some persons have released a statement saying that there is a wanted criminal on that list. And some have said that particularly the person who is heading the circle sector was involved in trying to take over parks from, some other persons who were leading the previous system. And if you're saying you don't want violence, you want to sanitize, how are you using someone who was fingered or, was said to have participated in some sort of takeover? Is it true that you have a wanted criminal on your committee?
If somebody says wanted criminal, we're all educated, okay? And education is not only being in the classroom. Education can be on the street. Let me say this and I'm clear. We have enforcement agencies out there. If somebody's wanted and is walking the street and is not being brought back into their system or being arrested, then he's not wanted. Until we see that, these are blackmail. If you're saying about somebody who's wanted by the police or by the law enforcement and the guy in the street, doesn't make no sense to me. So people need to stop the blackmail. Let's support this government to succeed and let's move forward so that Osun will be great again.
And that's
all I can say.
Okay, and does that mean that this new system was not designed to cut off, like I asked you earlier, to cut off the hold that the previous administration supposedly has on the transport system?
I mentioned earlier that 9.5%, right, or even more, okay, has been integrated into the system from the old system, from the old previous government. So what are we talking about? The people who are screaming and fighting are those people who they feel like money has been taken away from them. What we are discussing is about money. They are pushing back against the system because the money they've been making over years, they can't make it again. That's all. So don't let us play into their hands by discussing what has happened and what didn't happen. They will not deny that most of their own men are being hired into the system.
Okay, Prof. Most of these new policies, they are here in Osogbo. This looks like the stronghold. What happens to other towns in the state?
everybody is included in the system.
Okay.
I travel over the states. All the structures that I mentioned earlier.
Oh my, looks like we have another network glitch there, and we hope that is resolved soon. But I would like to...
It's all built into this. In the vehicle section, they have like 75 branches. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, please.
So the branches are spread across the state, which means that every city, every town, every village has been captured. So we have leadership everywhere to basically spearhead and drive the transformer system.
Okay, so what is the revenue projection? You said that this is a multi-billion naira venture, and that people make money on a daily basis. Some of the figures you gave were staggering. I mean, 7,000 naira per vehicle going to Lagos. You know the number of vehicles that go to Lagos on a daily basis. So what is the revenue projection? How much are we looking at making for the Osun State government in the nearest future, in the long run? Let's start with monthly.
I would like to put a number on that, but let me walk you through something real quick. Let's go to the Okada riders. In Ondo, the government just declared that they made 800 million in 11 months. Okay? Think about that. Now, in Osun, we have over 50,000 motorcycles all over the place, and they are being charged 100 naira per day. Okay? You can do the math. All right? However, even if you lowball it, assuming that only 50% of these motorcycles will maybe run on a daily basis, 25,000 motorcycles. You do the math. You're looking at about 77 million naira, what have you, right? And maybe at the end of the day, you're looking at about 930 million naira in a year. So that's why I said, enumeration needs to come first. Let's know what's in the system. Then the government will come out and say, this is what we've made in the last 3 months. All right, or the last quarter, if you will, and say this is what the number of bikes we have in place, this number of vehicles we have in the state. Okay, and these things are what will be looked at to be able to cast the public along in terms of transparency.
Okay, we've spoken about the technical structure. Now let's talk about the physical structure of the parks. Are we going to have some sort of central, park management system, or it's going to be decentralized as we've seen so far?
From my experience, decentralization to decentralize this is the most effective way of getting this done. In the past, what I've spearheaded, it's all about lesson learned. There's the things I looked at, lesson learned, and how unique Osun State is. Osun is not Oyo State, but Oyo is not Osun State. Okay? So we have to digitalize it to make sure that every branch, maybe, for example, in Osogbo here, Oroki, we have Osogbo 1, right? Oroki 1. And that branch has 7 units under it. Okay? So you can't have a central structure controlling everybody. You have to make sure that the power lies with those branches. With that, we can have accountability. With that, we can collect data to know what's being made and give them target. Because we know exactly what's in the system. Until we get to a place whereby we can go further, we will not come back to the table and say, you know what, this is what you guys have been making all along. We have to give back money to the people who take your vehicles. If you're taking 7,000 naira from a driver, and that money is being spread on the passengers in the bus, let's bring it down to 3,000 naira. And let's see how that also add money back to the pocket of the people who are riding your vehicles. And the driver will also be happy as well. The only way the drivers make money when they leave those parks is, one, they collect or maybe material they have to deliver for somebody in another state. 2, on the road, they pick up more passengers on the road. That's how they make up for the money that's being collected from them. So this issue is what we have to address as we move along.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that. I was going to ask you anyway. Now, is there a way your system now will monitor and regulate the prices of package delivery? I have been to the parks several times, and some of these prices, it's almost as if you're buying a seat in the vehicle. Will you be also looking into that sector?
Definitely. I said before, His Excellency Senator Adeleke does not want a situation whereby people will feel uncomfortable and start complaining. His goal is to address issues like this. I've been through that too. I sent my computer down to to Ibadan, was it 3 days ago? And the guy charged me about, I think, 3,000 naira or so. So now I'm like looking like, seriously? So I'm paying for a seat. But me doing that, I'm also learning. So like we can go back to the system and say, these will be the cap on such thing. Maybe 1,000 naira is better. Maybe 500 naira is okay. Right? So the things unless it were.
The network.
Well, network again, coming in between Professor Abdurrahman Afonja and his points there. But
whatever you are carrying is taking enough space.
Well, he was talking about, I just asked him.
Sorry.
Okay, go ahead, please. I think you're back now. Professor Afonja, do we still have you?
Unstable.
Okay, so I had just asked him about the
Packet
the packet.
Yeah, back. So unless, right? Are you there?
Yes, I am. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Unless the package you're sending, right, taking a lot of space, maybe taking a seat or a room in a trunk, right? Then they can charge you something like, okay, if a passenger sits on this seat that you're occupying, right, you should be charged that. But if I'm sending you still an envelope, and you're charging me the same money for a seat.
Even
that's
more.
The problem.
Let me give you an instance. I went to Lagos.
So the driver, are we there?
Yes, I was going to give you an instance. I went to Lagos for the festivity. Can you hear me, Professor?
Yeah, I hear you now.
Okay, so I was going to give you an instance. I went to Lagos close to the New Year. The transport fare was about 3.5 or 2.5 or thereabout. But to send a package, you had to pay 5,000 naira at the park at Eregwede. And I was wondering, that's even higher than the amount I paid for the seat, and it was a do it or leave it or take it or leave it attitude. So it will be interesting to see how you address that.
Yeah, so I also have the same experience anyway. So it's a good thing that I've been in the system. I understand how this thing works. The leadership is what we'll let them know what our expectations are and make sure that that's addressed. So feedback with this is what we're giving back. It's telling them, you can't do this, you can't do that. But without feedback, we can't really address some of the issues in the system. So I've experienced that too. So like I said earlier, right, the driver who is charging you all this money is because he's been tasked as well. He's been tasked by the leadership of the union. So the only way he can make his money and buy fuel is to make sure that when people bring any kind of package, it's going to stop them. It's all about extortion. So all of these, we're going to put a stop to that as we move along.
All right, Professor, let's quickly address this similar issue of moving animals, with human beings in the same vehicle. Is the management going to curb that situation because it is becoming a menace?
Yes, definitely. We have a task force that, because it's not agenda for what they've been doing, which is mad. So our plan is through the disciplinary committee to address all these issues. And once the policies has been developed and put in place, then we'll start basically taking those measures. When we find people like that, we're going to announce, we're going to warn them, pass that message along. We shouldn't see such things happening. And like I said, feedback like this from the public will help us address issues that we probably won't know. Okay? So we'll make sure we put a stop to that.
All right, very quickly, because of our time, we're running out of time, but will we be seeing the facelift of the park? Should there be physical restructuring? I mean, if you, for instance, I keep using the Eregbe Park, for example now, the fact that the buses park by the roadside narrows the roads. There's some sort of traffic bottleneck there because some of the buses, as they are loading, are on the road, take up a sizable amount of the road. Would there be a physical restructuring? You said Oshun is not Ibadan, but would you modernize the parks, maybe rebuild, maybe ensure that there's a way the vehicles no longer cause traffic holdup?
Correct, yeah. So that will be addressed, okay, as we move along. I've been through that, experience that myself. The leadership that we are bringing in now, they will also address that. We'll task them to make sure they clear the parks, make sure that no pickups on the main road. Even filling stations, right, the gas stations, you can see they cause nuisance too. We're also going to address that. If not, they're going to be penalized, and in some places, probably will be shut down. Because we want to buy fuel from you, we should create a way to manage those queues, right? So we're going to make sure that we work with everybody, we'll reach out to them, advise them, tell them what our expectation is, what the government wants and what the government needs, want us to do, and then we'll move along from there. But I believe that in the next 2-3 weeks, we'll start seeing a lot of change happening while we're addressing those issues.
Okay, so before we let you go, Professor Afonja, now a lot has been said about this system, and people are saying that, well, it's this political undertones and all of that. But how soon should people expect genuine, serious change, serious business? I mean, you still have to address the issue of some union members. Are you foreseeing sabotage? You know, some persons, like you said, being unhappy that you're taking away money from them. Are you making provisions for some of these occurrences?
If they try to sabotage, they will be breaking the law. Let's just be clear. And when people break the law, they will face the consequences of the law. And I've said it to everybody. Please respect the law. However, we're going to start seeing changes as soon as possible. Some of these policies that we've already drafted will be implemented, and we'll start seeing changes. I love to move quick, make things happen quickly. So I'll be on it. I'll be available myself. I'm in these parks. I understand how the system works. So, and even when I met them yesterday, they know I know how it works. So we understand each other. I'll continue to reach out to the other side of the coin to see if they're available, if they want to work for the state. Because it's not about ourselves, but it's because of their selfish interest. If you love Osun State, your job is to serve the state. So if you're given an opportunity to be integrated into the system, why can't you get on board? So I feel like it's because of their greediness is why they are pushing back against the system. And I said earlier, the governor has not prescribed any union or association. What he's saying is, do not collect money from the people in the state. It's only the government that has the right to collect revenue. Okay? And that's what we are saying. They have rights based on freedom of association to interact with each other, to collect membership fees among themselves, but do not go on the street collecting revenue on behalf of the state. If anyone is caught, we will arrest their leadership, we arrest the people, whoever who selling those tickets, because they're committing a crime. So let's talk about the blackmail, about political will. The governor of Osun State, Senator Ademola Adeleke, is the governor of the people. All right? And he's here to serve the people. This is one Osun State. There's no PDP, there's no APC on that governance. And he's here to serve the people. So let's put to rest all the issue of blackmail or political intonation to all this. The governor is the governor of Osun people, not of PDP. Thank you.
All right, so I'd like to thank you very much, Professor Abdulrahman Afonja, who is the consultant to the Osun State government on the new transport management system. Thank you so much for joining us on the show this morning.
Thank you for joining us,
Thanks for having me. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Yeah, do have a lovely day. Yeah, you too. Well, you've heard the consultant himself, some very interesting things.
Very interesting.
I've been a victim of some of these issues, and I'm sure that the people will be looking forward to some sort of sanity in the system.
And then it's going to take a lot of getting used to some of these policies and all. Basically, it's going to uplift the spirit of the people, but then some people would not be happy because, there's going to be a change of power. Power is going to change hands in some sort of way.
Well, we hope that whatever issues will be bottlenecks will be resolved, and some of these things will take time to get used to truly. But then I sincerely hope that all of those issues are addressed and that people come to terms with this policy if the government is doing it with a sincerity of purpose. But that's the interview segment on the show this morning. My name is Emmanuel Ojadigele. I'll be stepping aside. No, I'm not stepping aside.
I am. All right. Have a lovely day. I'm Temitope Ajidola Ola.
Arrested, affected, sound, found. What do we see? What do we say? Flowing from a spring. A fact A to Z. Check and confirm. Eva is pounding current events. Traveling down from the business gist to the globally arising happenings, to the sports news, to the bittersweet infos. Guided transmission, even diffusion, vast and fast. Detailed facts are fled. Within seconds, nuggets of words that flew across borders are fired. Stories short and long, wrapped in bundles of words, broken and dissected as it is, except misheard. This is the news as it is.
Turn it up! It's the Wild Wild West. And Western Spring Television is pulling out all the stops to make sure that you don't miss out on every of the fun and happenings around you. Yup, we've got you covered because your girls got all the juiciest tidbits and entertainment news from around the world. Cross over to the chocolatey side of entertainment. Join me, Chocolate Cassie, on Eccentric as we take you into every bit of the juiciest news, fashion, music, movie updates, and other trending conversations. Together on the show, we'll get personal with your favorite celebrities via phone call, Zoom, or even live here in the studio. Eccentric will be shown on your TV screen on Western Spring Television, channel 190, only on StarTimes.
According to the words of Michael Forbes, one who never asks questions either knows everything or nothing. Watch me as I ask the questions you think no one wants to answer. Even questions it appears no one has got the guts to ask. My name is Femi Adefila and I've got the gut. Let's ask the pertinent questions and watch as we get answers.
Well, it's Spring Trends on Morning Spring on Western Spring Television, the program where we bring you who is trending, what is trending, why they're trending, and we tell you what people are saying about the who, the what, and the whys. It's Thursday edition, Thursday the 12th of January 2023. It's a new year, and of course, it's just few days into the year, but a lot of things have happened. And of course, you know that they say in local parlance that it's Throwback Thursday. But before that, remember to follow us on all our social media handles on Facebook and Instagram at Western Spring Television. And on Twitter, it is at WSTV_NG. And on YouTube, it is at Western Spring Television. Do well to subscribe to our channel. You can also follow me on Twitter at EM My name is Emmanuel Ujadigile. Welcome to the show this morning. Now it's Throwback Thursday. Let's show you some of the things that we used to use many years ago. If you used this, if you used any of this, just know that by now you should say me hi to your fourth child. My regards to your fourth child who should be finishing school now. And so let's start with this. If you know what this is, congratulations. My regards to your wife and children. If you don't know what it is, the next time you see me, call me Grandpa. That's this. And then, of course, do you remember this? Nigeria Telecommunications Limited. That's 100 units. Nitel, your link to the world. This is very, very old. The next one there is something that people like Biodo and Baba used to do. People like Sheyi Motayo and all of our producers. You know, you get a hold of your mother's phone, you send a text, I miss you so much today, don't reply, this is my mom's number. I am sure, very certain that Anibaba did this while he was young. I didn't do it, I've always been a child of God. Then, of course, these cassettes, they were played with a VCR, the video player. Yes, a VHF. Oh no, it's VCR, yes, that played this. This is a cassette. If it mistakenly gets tangled, it's all over. The next one there is this. Yes, this was a perfect home setup then. You could see the television, see the phone, see the VCR player, look at the mini TV there, and look at all the cassettes there. Wow, so beautiful. This is how Sheyi Motayo's house looks like, even in the 21st century. And of course, yes, this. Remember this this metal torchlight, man. This you put some batteries there, you know. And then if you had this lamp and radio in your house then at the time, you're part of the richest people. Yes, with the cassette, because you're part of the richest people around. And of course, our olden day generator. Yes, this. Remember that if you break the glass of this, your school fees for the whole year may be in trouble. You know. Yes, this is, we'll call it a lantern, but it is a kerosene lamp for those of you who do not know what it is actually called. Okay, so now let's move away from throwback and go to political matters now. Yesterday, Atiku was in the mud. The presidential candidate of the PDP was in the mud, and let me show you why. A Twitter user put it up and said Atiku's ex-media aide, Michael Achimogu, has gone to court to swear an affidavit validating the authenticity of his allegations against Atiku Abubakar. He said he's ready to testify before any court in the world against Atiku. Now, let me show you some content of that affidavit. He swore that he's a media consultant, that he worked between 2017 and 2022 with Atiku Abubakar, and that there was an allegation of corruption against Atiku to the tune of 100 million naira bribe given to him by former governor of Plateau State, Joshua Darie. And he said he sent an email to Atiku Abubakar to give him some explanation. And Atiku said that it was for special purpose vehicle, SPV, you know. And then the next slide there is a transcription of his conversations with Atiku Abubakar, talking about, hey, Mike, yes, sir, and all of that. And you can see it right on your screen there. Hope you can see the transcription. Yes, that's the transcription of his conversation with Atiku Abubakar, talking about he incorporated some companies and put them as subscribers. And one of the companies was Marine Float. Then you see the next slide is also further explanations, further transcriptions of that phone conversation between the man and Atiku Abubakar. And interestingly, on the last slide, it says that point 9 says that he recorded a conversation above, not out of mischief, but because at the time he did not want to miss any instruction given to him by Atiku, and that he later met Atiku for further briefing on the issue, and he explained that the special purpose vehicles were to use throughout his tenure as vice president to fund his business and all of that. Now, so let's see how people have responded to this revelation, this convert says he should be on guard. Atiku is dangerous. And Chris says he knows. Yes. The next comment is from Optim. Optim says, certainly there is nothing in that conversation that indicates corruption on Atiku Abubakar, except his own statement where he claimed AA told him that the marine float was what he used to fund his private businesses. That's absurd and can be confirmed to be true. Thomas, not Sankara, says he knew all these and still worked for him till he fell out with his family. Nigerians really don't hate corruption. A person is either corrupt or a hero, depending on if he or she is in our good books. Kamora Dedimeji says, honestly, it's Dino and Co that will ruin Atiku. There are times when silence is very golden, not even at this critical time in Atiku's quest for presidency. Whether the allegation is true or not is immaterial. It ought to have been managed wisely because of the time in Dino. Don't buy market. Next comment is from Mr. 2, says, this is good that is coming out to testify against Atiku. I'm not against him, but I believe we Nigerians are not sincere to ourselves. You knew this all this while. You kept mute for over how many years? You decided to keep silent, all because you're working with him. Now, the next one is from Yama. Yama says, you see that number 10? I'll be very concerned if I were him. Every other thing is in that audio except that item 10. If his lawyers sue him, I can only hope we also have an audio to prove that Atiku told him that. Good luck. Now, that's that for Atiku in the mud on that story. Now, before we end the show this morning, there is something that usually happens in Nigeria. It's called breakfast. I don't know what part of the world you're watching us from, but there's something called breakfast. And breakfast is not just the food that you eat in the morning. It is a Nigerian parlance for very terrible heartbreak. I've had my share of breakfast. I traveled all the way to Warri, Delta State, to attend my fiance's family function at the time, only to find out that she was in another 4-month-old relationship. She did give me a very beautiful pair of shoes that I used to walk out of her life. And I cried all the way from Warri to Osogbo, 6 hours of hot tears. So let's show you some breakfast and tears story. Now, this person, Leo B. da Silva, says, what has been your worst or funniest reaction to heartbreak? Now, let's take the reactions. Seeker of Truth, this is a throwback. Seeker of Truth says, I found out she was cheating. I was already working, collecting a meager salary then while she was in uni. She broke up with me via phone when I confronted her about the other guy. I couldn't cry. I went on a 3-day drive fasting and prayer on the mountain, asking God to bring her back. You're so sorry. Breakfast can turn you into a prophet. Finda says, enter bus from Abeokuta down to Ibadan. Dropped at Apata, and I took another bus back immediately. I just wanted breeze, crying and enjoying that breeze. I had my share of breeze from Delta to Osogbo. I'll never forget. Oladimeji Grace says, I wrote her full name in a piece of paper, placed it in the middle of my Bible. That's why they do 9 a.m., 12 p.m., 3 p.m., 6 p.m. prayers daily. May God help me return her back. Took the same Bible to church to let my pastor's anointed hands touch. Kofo will come back. Kofo did not come back, you. Next comment is from KMG, says, well, I moved from one funeral to the other just to cry because I couldn't cry at home peaceful. One funeral, I was nearly beaten because I was crying more than the widow. So our friends thought I was a side chick. Since then, I respected myself and moved on with life. The next comment is from Olusegun Shobowale, says, I did dry fasting for 3 days. I ate in the evening of the second day when it felt like I was dying. I cried for days and still begged her to come back, even though I knew she was cheating on me. It took me about 6 months to finally let her go. It's been 2 years and I can't date. My thoughts and prayers are with brother Shobowale. I traveled from Rivers, this is Zolonye now. I traveled from Rivers to Abraka to see her. She not even reasoned my sacrifice before calling it quit that night. On my way back, we heard robbers were operating ahead. Everybody come out, can enter bush, not me. I wanted my blood on our hands. And Taylor Gale says, on the day it happened, I stepped out to buy alcohol, mentioning the alcohol. Drinking wasn't my thing before then. Mixed, drank, and slept. That week, I bought a sewing machine, put it beside my bed. Anytime I want to think about it, I will go and sew. Even if it's paper, midnight join. Well, I must tell you that Abigail is now one of the biggest tailors in Lagos. King of Camelot says she broke up with me on the 20th of June last year after I returned from law school. I drove from Owerri to Aba by 8:45 p.m. at 180. I had tears in my eyes. I never knew I was driving in the opposite direction until I saw a bright light heading towards me. Wow, these are some interesting breakfast stories, and I want to implore you to stop being heartless. If you've been breaking hearts, now is the time to repent and stop doing that. And if you've been heartbroken, please give love another chance. Try as much as possible to love again. That's where we leave it on the show this morning. My name is Emmanuel Ujadigele. You can follow me on Twitter at EM Follow us on all our social media handles on Instagram and Facebook, Western Spring Television, on Twitter at WSTV_NG, and on YouTube, Western Spring Television. I'll see you tomorrow, Friday, for the TGIF edition of the program. But in the meantime, do stay safe. Remember to collect your PVCs so you can vote next month. And of course, have a wonderful Thursday.